Today we're installing a Uniden R7 radar detector in a 2017 BMW X5. Our BlendMount part number BR7-2017. So whenever you go to install a BlendMount, you always want to make sure you're on the passenger side of the vehicle. Never want to install from the driver's side, always from the passenger side. Another thing I like to do is move the mirror towards the driver to open up this area here, because that's where we're going to be installing the mount. So first thing we want to do is we want to loosen this clamp screw, which is going to raise the top from the mid. We want to loosen that enough to where there's enough clearance here to go right over the stem of the mirror. So that's about how far we need there. So we just put this over the stem and we start tightening. Two things to keep in mind when you're tightening this clamp screw is we want to position the mount as far forward as possible so there's maximum clearance between the mount and the back side of the mirror. And we also want to, this mount can rotate, so we want it basically in a 6 o'clock position so the radar detector sits horizontal this way and not like this. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up, just kind of eyeballing to see if it is in a 6 o'clock position, and I'm just going to snug it up. Okay. I'm going to install the radar to make sure I am in a 6 o'clock position. And yes, that's horizontal this way. So I'm going to remove the radar detector and go ahead and really give this clamp screw a good tighten. All of our mounts are billet aluminum, 6061 T6 aluminum, so the threads are very strong. You won't strip them out, so you can tighten. You really need to tighten this clamp screw. So give it a really good snug. So another adjustment are these two screws here, which determine how the radar detector sits like this. So we're looking for horizontal this way. So I'm going to loosen these two screws. Actually, I'm going to mount the radar before I loosen those. Loosen the two screws. And you can see that adjustment. So horizontal is looking like right about here. Tighten those up. These screws don't have to be quite as tight as a clamp screw, but you can still give those a good snug. Okay, another adjustment is the vertical adjustment. There's a couple of screws back here which allow the spring clip to come down. I know that I wanted those adjusted all the way up because we want the top of the radar detector as close to the bottom of the mirror as possible. Makes for a nice tight install. So the final adjustment is going to be our rotating adjustment. So right now the radar detector is pointing perfectly straight forward. So I can actually rotate this up to 15 degrees of adjustment here. Personally, I like about 5 degrees towards the driver, so we're straight here, and I'm just going to rotate it a little bit, right about 5 degrees, right about there. That looks good. Once you get that adjustment figured out, you want to remove the radar detector again, and you need to tighten the rotating adjustment bolt. So at this point we have the clamp screw very tight, our rotating adjustment screw tight, these two screws tight, and the two vertical adjustment screws tight. When we install the radar detector with this spring clip, you want to put your thumb behind here and another finger here and just squeeze your fingers. Don't just pull back on this. We want to squeeze our fingers together. It doesn't put any excess pressure on anything else here. So when you squeeze, the bottom leg drops down. You simply slide the radar detector on, push forward, and it locks into position. Another nice feature on the spring clip is, since we have this radar detector mounted up so high towards the bottom of the mirror, you can't really get your finger in here sometimes to hit like the mute button. So all you need to do is with one finger push the front of the radar down, another finger hit the button, and let it spring back up into position. Super easy to do, super quick, and it always is going to go back into its original position there. This vehicle already has one of our mirror tap power cords installed, so we just hook up the power and we're ready to go.